Hey, if you are joining me right now, then you know what time it is, Vertigo Nation. Yes, a new episode is here. Thank you for tuning in. If this is the first time that you're catching Vertigo, go ahead, hit the subscribe button now. I promise you won't be disappointed because this is the podcast that will make your head spin. It's true. So welcome back. And missed an episode last week. I do apologize about that, but you know, if you've been listening this long into the podcast, you know how that goes. And didn't really have much of a topic or a guest scheduled, and I did promise that I was not going to just sit and ramble. So last week was kind of just a wash for me, and here I am back on the attack, ready to let it go and flow. How about that, huh? So before I get too down the rabbit hole of what I'm going to be talking about today, I need to do a special shout out to Old School Landscaping and Property Services. And they have been at the Air Healing and Wellness Spa, Deja Brew. You know the place. You've heard the ads on earlier episodes. If not, go back, listen to an earlier episode, and then you will know the place. But Air Healing and Wellness, Deja Brew, two best kept secrets in Oswego County. Old School Landscaping and Property Services has been helping us get a new parking lot in place as well as fixing the driveway in. So appreciative of Andy and Kyle, who have been working hard on getting that done for us amidst the business being open. Parking has been atrocious. It's been a crazy hella battle, but they are doing the work and it looks incredible. So if you haven't been by to see what they're doing, take a stop by Air Healing and Wellness. Check out what Andy and Kyle are doing from Old School Landscaping and Property Services. And if you've got a project at home that you've been putting off landscaping, maybe you need some work done on some hardscapes as well, you need to get in touch with Andy Carter at Old School Landscaping and Property Services. Look him up on Facebook. You won't be disappointed. He does an incredible job. Like I said, him and Kyle have been here just kicking ass, getting this parking lot taken care of for us. And so, again, don't hold off if you want to do something outside the home, beautify the place, spice it up a little bit, neaten it up, or just, maybe it needs just a little maintenance, a little TLC. He's your boy. Give him a call. With that being said, Vertigo Nation, here we are, man, in mid-July already. Summer is ticking by. I can't believe it. I feel like, I was just doing the July 4th episode, man, which I guess in essence, yes, I did just do the July 4th episode a couple weeks ago, but just to think that we're now rounding out July and kind of straight shot now into August. Summer just doesn't last as long as I remember, I guess. So just kind of crazy. So let's start off with a little bit of fun today. And I want to talk about what is on my playlist. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Do I tell you now or do I make you hold off? See, I guess in the true, if this was a true blue, like scripted out show, right, I would leave the cliffhanger for the end to make sure that you listen all the way to the end. But you know what? My ADHD just isn't going to allow that. So I'm going to talk about it right now, and there is going to be no cliffhanger, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Are you ready? I have a guilty pleasure of enjoying some Limp Bizkit. I said it. I do. I like Limp Bizkit, and I have been going hard on listening to all of the Limp Bizkit greatest hits. So, yeah, that's been what's on my playlist is really getting down with the LIMP. Bizkit is here, So, yeah, that's what's been on my playlist and in saying that too, also some, I guess we could call it old school hip hop now, but like 90s and 2000s hip hop I've also been listening to. I've been, going off on a little Cypress Hill. Of course, the Wu, because if you listen to the episode, my sister Kelly and we talked about how Wu-Tang Clan was definitely in one of my top 5 favorite, groups, artists. I love Wu-Tang Clan. So they definitely have been on top of the playlist. And who else? Cypress Hill, I think I already said. Cypress Hill, Limp Bizkit, Wu-Tang Clan, Method and Red. Anybody remember that show from back in the early 2000s, Method and Red? It was on Fox. Um, I gotta be honest, I remember the advertisements for it. I don't think I ever watched an episode of it, so I can't really speak to what it was about. I think the premise was that Method and Red, obviously two hip hop dudes, rappers. I think they bought like a house in a like a burbs area, like in the suburbs, and it's kind of like these two dudes, hip hop guys, living amongst the burbs, coming out of the city, kind of was the premise. I don't really know much more from there. I don't know if it was good or not. I just remember it being a thing. So Method and Red back in the day on Fox. I think that had to be early 2000s that show was out. And I might have to go back and watch a few episodes now just for one, nostalgia purposes, but two, because I never actually have watched it and see what it's all about. Another note in UFC news, I haven't really done any UFC talk. One, because, I haven't had Sean and Zach here, who are really the two UFC dudes. When the three of us get together, we definitely talk about UFC. But last night was a pretty exciting fight. Max Holloway fighting Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, of course, fighting in his home state, Louisiana, and is retiring. So that was pretty great. The fight itself did not disappoint. Max Holloway came away with the win, and that was a pretty incredible. Pay-per-view, I have to say. I've been a little disappointed in the UFC as of late. I feel like their fights haven't been as marquee. I think they're trying to do way too many because they do the fight nights on ESPN, ESPN Plus, and then they do the pay-per-views. I just think it's too much because it's taking away from having really awesome stacked cards, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. And what else is coming? If you listened into my solo podcast from quite a few weeks ago now, I talked about Real American Freestyle, which is going to be a professional wrestling, but professional wrestling in the real sense of wrestling, I guess, from what I understand. Kurt Angle, who is an Olympic gold medalist for freestyle wrestling, is taking part in managing and whatnot. So it'd be kind of curious to see what's going to come from that. I was a wrestler in high school, so I have some special interest in seeing if this thing is really going to take off. They do have an event coming up, I guess, in August. I heard ticket sales are really poor, but we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But Real American, why can't I get that out? Real American Freestyle, RAF, is going to be coming. So any fans of combat sports and whatnot, again, I haven't talked about that much on the podcast, but just to kind of a throwback to the old school, the original couple of episodes where the boys were here and we did talk a little bit about UFC. So for anybody who's missing some of that, and that's still very much a part of my interest or whatnot, but just gets kind of lost in the translation of everything else that's going on in the mad world, I guess, which is another thing that I really kind of wanted to talk about. I have been thinking a lot about the world lately. So what had happened, I was at work, and I went into a gas station to A, grab a drink, and B, obviously gas up the car. What else do you do at a gas station, right? And I do remember this being on National Hot Dog Day, because I remember, every gas station convenience store has it too. You walk in and there's the hot dog heater, I guess. I don't really know what you call that thing. It's definitely not a grill, but there's just hot dogs rolling around on these rollers, And I always think to myself, people must come in and buy them. But I've never seen anybody walk into a gas station and buy a hot dog. But on National Hot Dog Day, I walk in because they were two for $1. You could get two of these, two hot dogs for $1. They must have been flying off the shelf, because I've never seen this in my life. But I walked in there, and there actually was an employee from the Circle K putting stacking hot dogs into the rollers. I'm like, geez, anytime I go in there, there's like 2 or 3 hot dogs that look like they've been rolling around on there for days. They're kind of wrinkly, kind of not looking too appetizing. I'm like, either no one buys them and they just roll on the fucking thing, or it's a real hot commodity and everybody's coming to the gas station to buy hot dogs. I'm not sure which it is, but I can attest to National Hot Dog Day that they were loading up the hot dog rollers with fresh hot dogs. It's the only time I've ever seen it, but it was happening. So, National Hot Dog Day, it is a thing. But also, while I was in the store that day, somebody was buying some Monsters. And, of course, the energy drinks always have the deals, right? And I think there was some deal 3 for whatever, buy 1, get 2. I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, the person was at the self-checkout. And I guess it didn't ring up correctly. And the person was trying to explain to them that it did, that if you look at the price and add it up, that it adds up to whatever the deal is. But the person was like, no. So anyway, my point in telling the story was I couldn't believe, and the employee was being absolutely respectful and like, yes, let me take a look for you. Let me see. Let's cancel this order. Let me ring it up over here. And like going over and showing them how it's going to ring up, like line by line. And the person's still arguing with them, not believing them, whatever. And they're like, no, listen, if you do the math, it comes up to the deal and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like sitting there going, yeah, that makes sense. If you add it in your head, right, you do quick math in your head. I'm like, yeah, it adds up to, I don't even remember. Let's just for argument's sake that it's like 3 for $6 or something. I'm like, yeah, that equals $6, dude. You got 3 Monsters. They each ring up $2. It's $6. Like, what are you not understanding, And, so, whatever. Okay. Oh, this was the deal. It was buy 2, get 1 free. But the price of the 2 added, I don't remember the whole fucking, just trust me on this. The way that the person was explaining it, it was correct. I can tell you that. And I know that because I was standing behind this person in line and I kept adding it up going, yeah, what they're telling you is accurate. Matter of fact, I wanted to jump in and be like, but anyway. The point is that the person buying the Monsters was flipping the fuck out, dude. Like just tearing the attendant, the cashier, just tearing them a new ass. And I'm like, why? Because I'm telling you that the person behind the counter was like, no, I'm sorry, this is, even said, like, I know this has confused a lot of people. I'm not quite sure why the store does it this way, but this is how it's done. Like, going through this whole narrative, and the person's basically like, yeah, well, fuck you, and I should get another one. It's like everybody always wants something else. It's like, well, what are you going to do to accommodate me? It's like, so you want them to accommodate you being an idiot and not being able to do math? I mean, that's really what you're saying, right? Like, I can't do math, and your system, even though you've explained it to me 3 different ways, your system is stupid, which the cashier also said, like, I know it is a little confusing, but trust me, look at your receipt. I'm not giving you some bullshit, right? It's right there. Literally, we talk about in 2025 getting receipts. I mean, this person literally is getting a receipt. And here's the breakdown, and here's the math, and the person like, so it's like, well, I think you should throw me in another one. It's like, dude, you clearly won. You are amped as it is. You don't need another one. A. B. Well, how about you just be like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. I get it, but no, there's none of that. So, one of the things I wanted to talk about is we live in like this mad world. I feel like in 2025, and I was having a conversation with Min about this too. I'm like, I don't know. It's obviously in our post-COVID world. So I don't know if being shut in for that year that we lost back to COVID and what was that, 2020? It was 5 years ago already, I guess, right? I don't know if something happened then, and when we all came back out from under our rocks, we just forgot what it was like to live in a society with other people, or if being sheltered really did like just mind fuck people, or is it that it didn't matter that it was COVID or not? This is just the direction that the world was heading anyway. I don't know, because there's no way, I guess, to really research that, at least for me. But what I can attest to And this kind of goes back to the original Vertigo that I was doing right around the time that the world kind of was about to shut down. It was a year before, but it was, I guess maybe there's proof right there that it was festering already. There was this festering that was going on under the surface that was kind of like, people are starting to go mad, man. We don't really have a tolerance or a patience for each other anymore. And I don't know where that has come from. There's just this intolerance of people. I mean, you see it just parking the car. I was just parking the car the other day. I had to go to the laundromat, and I'm just pulling in the parking lot, and I'm watching this dude just get ripping pissed, just pulling in and out of the parking lot. Slamming his door, and I'm like, wow, man. Somebody's having a really bad day, and I know that shit happens. There's nothing new about any of that, but I just feel like it's more commonplace now than it's ever been. I just feel like no matter where you go, you could go. I'm pretty sure you could go to the happiest place on earth, which I've been told is Disney. I've been to Disney. I don't know that I actually buy into that bullshit, but I guess Disney is the happiest place on earth, and yet there are still people losing their freaking minds. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable to me. See, I can't even spit it out because my brain is just perplexed on how we treat people, nowadays. It's fucking odd to me, man. I don't know. So I think that the world is truly going mad here or something. I don't know. I don't know if the vibrations are off because the world is getting too hot. I don't know what's going on. But, man, people's brains are cooked. I'll tell you that right now. Holy shit. So think about that for a minute. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here. So anyway, this has been something that because I work with the public also, and I guess I working with the public, I just see it so much that they're like, one, I feel like everybody's immediate, everybody wants something for nothing, but in their mind, it's not nothing. In their mind, there's like some huge disservice that's been done, and therefore we should be accommodating that by giving them something monetary, I guess. I don't really see it. Again, I work IT, and part of what I do is where I work is for Express Computer Service, which is up in Fayetteville, and part of what I specifically do is I work to support businesses, but we also support residential clients too. And you can bring your computer in and have it looked at, fixed if need be. So we also do what they call bench service in the store. And so therefore, I work with a lot of the public. The public comes in all the time, either purchasing new computers or whatnot. So it's not just business contracts that we're, giving IT service to. And I have to say, for the most part, the businesses, although there are a couple, of course, but for the businesses, it's kind of been just business as normal. Flip that, though, on the other side, for the residential customers that come in, and I just feel like there's always some complaint. There's always something that I should have done, could have done, whatever. It's just bizarre. There's just not, people just aren't seeming to be happy, anymore. At least it's very few and far in between, I guess. And I don't really understand that. So that's kind of where I'm going with this whole thing. Like, I just am noticing that there is just this intolerance that people have, and everybody seems to want to be accommodated for, their time. I don't even know what. See, that's the hard part. I'm sitting here trying to explain it on the pod, and it's like, yeah, I don't even really know what people want. That's how mad this has gotten. People are so upset, and we are so, mudslinging, pointing fingers, doing this, doing that, and it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. And again, I guess where I was starting to go with that with the COVID thing is, I don't know, because I've heard from mental health professionals who have said, yeah, being shut in for a year really like fucked with people. And I'm like, okay. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, and I'm sure there are some who did not leave their house at all during COVID. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who just didn't leave the house. But I can attest to the fact that, yes, we were shut in a sense, but we weren't really shut in a sense. Like I still masked up and went to Walmart. I still remember following the arrows around. So it's like, yeah, maybe there wasn't that sense of community that there was because, festivals, fairs, things like that obviously were canceled. And sure that, I'm sure the New York State Fair being canceled or the county fair being canceled for folks was probably very emotional. I'm not taking away from that. It wasn't for me, but I can understand where people really look forward to that. And I know quite a few people who do really look forward to that. So yeah, that's a bummer. But I also feel like, man, there is disappointments in life. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like, okay. So they have to cancel the state fair this year because, COVID's obviously a pretty big deal. And we want people to be healthy and we want people to be able to get through this thing. And we don't want people dying. So that makes sense then that we would, cancel the fair. But then I think what it is actually, now that I'm spitting this out, I think what happened is there's those people who but did it need to be canceled? The conspiracy theories that start to come through. But, and here's the thing. I guess from my mind, it's like, I don't know. I have my thoughts about COVID. I have my thoughts about where it came from. I have my thoughts about how it impacted the world. But then I also have my thoughts that say, and none of that really matters because we lived through it. We did it. Maybe we'll never know the truth. Maybe someday we will. Maybe it'll be generations after. I mean, we still don't really know what happened with the JFK, assassination. So maybe we'll never really know the truth behind COVID and what it was and what it wasn't. I don't know. But here's what I know. We lived through it. It happened. It sucked. But looking back now, we're back. Concerts are happening. Things are happening. I do know that it ruined people's lives, right? People lost people. Obviously, that was very impactful. People lost people that they love, literally succumbed to the illness or and had died. People lost livelihoods over it. So I understand the impacts that it had on people and that we are still in a lot of ways 5 years later recovering from it. But I've also the amount of hate that seems to be spewed in the world now is just, and the mistrust, I guess, too, is a big one. Let me press pause on the COVID thought for a minute and just move over to, if anyone's ever paid attention to current events, the Air India accident where the plane went down in India and there was 200 plus people on board, killed everybody but one person. One person walked away from that accident, which is unbelievable. Everybody else had passed. I think it was like 246 people. And they're finding now, as they're doing the investigation, at least it looks like the pilot purposefully shut the fuel controls off to the engine. Now, I'm no pilot. I've never flown a plane, but I feel like that would be something that you wouldn't really want to do. And then reading into it further, it's like these are safety switches, so they have to be maneuvered physically in a certain way for the fuel to be cut off to the engine. So it's not like you can just bump it with your elbow while you're pulling back on the stick to get the nose up, right? It's not like that. You literally have to like push down, turn, it's a safety mechanism. And they also know that the co-pilot was asking the pilot why he shut, the fuel switches off. And so now we can only imagine that this was done intentionally, which means that those 246 people aboard that flight were killed purposefully. And this is where I'm kind of thinking about this in the sense of the mad world. I've flown multiple times, as I'm sure a lot of people have, right? You get on a plane, you don't even think about it. You get on a plane, you go to your destination. You get on your plane, you go to Florida. You get on your plane, you go to England even, right across the pond, right? Like people do this stuff. Travel is part of our everyday life. Air travel is part of our everyday life. But yet, this is kind of does tie back in with what I'm saying with the whole afterworld of COVID. It's like just crazy to me that I can tell you anytime I've gotten on a plane, I've never thought to myself that I wasn't going to make it to my destination, right? I mean, there's just, and so you think about the incredible amount of trust that you put into pilots and whatnot. And so it's so sad to me to think, like, in this Air India crash, like, people got on the plane with those same thoughts. And this pilot decided this day that things were going to be different. And it's just like, it's so incredible to me. And so earth shattering in a way that, like, this is, again, something that you would never think about. It's called blind faith or blind trust, right? You just are blindly trusting in everything that the mechanics have been working on the plane correctly. And we're starting to see where, like Boeing's been in trouble because they haven't been doing what they say they were going to do or should be doing or whatever. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, it's so crazy. It seems like the world is on fire, and that we're losing faith in humanity and we're losing trust in humanity, and it's so crazy to me, So I don't know, it's just insane. So, but hold that thought for a minute, because I think we're about to have a guest on the old podcast. Hey, you are live on Vertigo, my friend.
What the fuck is up, guy?
Not too much, man. I'm just talking about the world. I'm doing a solo episode, and just to kind of fill you in on what's going on, I have been talking about the world, how it exists now after COVID. And I guess I'm just kind of in this mind space of, like, I don't know if COVID brought this on, if it's the climate change, people's brains are getting cooked, but it just seems like the world is in this in this state of chaos. So that's.
Well, let me tell you about a little bit of chaos. I'll
Okay.
tell you about a little bit of chaos. The Max Holloway Dustin Poirier fight last night, that was chaos.
Yeah, man, I actually talked about that in the opening of the pod, that was a pretty incredible fight.
Oh my god, dude, it was so much fun. I mean, I talk about it on the Elbow Room all the time, but Max Holloway is my favorite fighter of all time. My son's literally named after him, so I was nervous, but it was so much fun, dude. It was a lot of fun. I had a couple of the guys over, and we just hung out and forgot about the world for a little bit and watched the fights, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I know, and I didn't stay up for it. I watched the highlights, I gotta admit, but I was excited to see that Holloway did in fact win unanimous decision.
Yeah. I think he won 49-46 too. So it was like very far in his direction. It was a good fight, though. It was close.
Yeah, man. And from the highlight reels, Dustin was doing a great job too. That's hard. I like both of those guys. I think I like Max a little more, but that's a hard pick for me.
Yeah, dude, it's hard too, because if it was anybody else, with it being Dustin Poirier's last fight, his retirement fight, if it was anybody else, I would have rooted for Dustin. But against Max Holloway, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So what else is going on, my friend? Just remember you're on the air.
What's that?
I said, what else is going on? Just remember you're on the air.
Oh, yeah. No, not much. I'm just hanging out. Today's a lazy day. I stayed up watching the fight with the guys last night. We stayed up till like 2:30, so today's my day. I'm just going to get some chores. It's raining. I'll probably just get some laundry and shit done.
Yeah. That sounds like we're going to...
Have a chill day.
Yeah. So I'm going to put you on the spot, though. What do you think of, is the world going crazy post-COVID, or do you think that this was festering under the surface all along?
No, this was under the surface all along, man. And I think especially America, America's been the top of the food chain for a long time, and you look at America's only 200-something years old, 250 years old or whatever, and you look at any great country or great empire, they start to fall at some point, and I don't think we're falling. I don't think anything bad's going to happen, but I think that, everyone is struggling financially. People are getting jealous of the people who are rich and have everything, and that builds up a little bit of like anger and resentment. I think that I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of it is the financial struggles right now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that does come from COVID. I mean, during COVID, everybody was nobody was working. Nobody could make any money. Everything was shut down. people are still recovering from that.
No, I agree with that. I wonder too, and I do agree with you a little bit on, what's going on in America and especially in politics here. Like, yeah, empires rise, empires fall. I do agree with that. But I also think that there's a lot going on the world stage. I mean, and we are seeing, violence happen, not just here at home, but, I think there was that Germany is the country I'm thinking of specifically, where somebody drove their car into that crowd of people. Like, it just seems like humanity in general is coming unglued. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I don't. I honestly don't disagree with that. But I do think, I don't know what it has come to, or what I guess the reasoning is. I guess if people did know the reasoning, it'd probably be fixed. But
yeah, it's a good point.
I don't know what it is. I think. Man, I'm not. I use social media and I use phones and everything like that, so I can't talk. But everybody's so glued into technology that a lot of people aren't in the real world most of the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's not great for mental health. I think mental health is talked about more than ever now, but I think it's also at an all-time low at the same time.
Isn't that bizarre? I would agree with that. I feel like we spend a lot of time talking about mental health, but I feel like we don't spend a lot of time actually like digging in and getting help either.
Yeah. And I think that, I'm not against medicine. I'm not against, antidepressants or SSRIs. I'm not against any of that. But I do think that everyone's first step when they go, I have something wrong with my brain, I'm not thinking right, their first step is like, I should get on an SSRI. And I think that probably does make people feel better at the time, but it doesn't really fix the issue. So you have all these people with underlying mental issues. I mean, like, I would, if I don't know the actual number, but if I had to guess, it's got to be upwards of 75-80% of the population has some sort of mental illness right now.
Yeah, I would agree.
So at that point, you also have to question, like, is it mental illness or is it normal to have stuff? You know what I mean?
Right.
Which it is. But
yeah.
I think because of that, that's a lot of the issues. Everybody's sick. Nobody eats healthy. Including me. I don't eat the healthiest either. But, like, I think our food, nobody exercises. A lot of people are, lazy and angry and unhealthy. I think that has a lot to do with a lot of the issues.
I think you're right. And I unfortunately think that, and I'm sure this is a biased opinion, I think social media has definitely aided in a lot of that because it's too easy. Like, our entertainment is in our pockets.
Mm-hmm.
You can pull up anything on TikTok, anything on Instagram, anything on YouTube, anything on Facebook, Reels, right? All of that. So it's like, we have, and everybody is an influencer nowadays too, I think. Like, we could go down a rabbit hole, I think. I've got one more question for you, I think, though. And I lost it, so never mind. Where was I going to go with that? I was going to say something. We already kind of touched on the social media thing. Yeah, I don't remember where I was going to go with it, but yeah. So that's kind of what was chatting. Hey, and so I did a quick segment on the beginning of the show called "What's on My Playlist," and I have to guiltily say that I have been listening to a lot of Limp Bizkit lately. What music you got on your playlist? What are you listening to so far this summer?
Dude, lately there's been a lot of new albums coming out. So I just listen to whatever new albums come out and check them out, like, of all genres, pretty much. So right now, Joyner Lucas, who's a rap artist, just dropped a new album. I really like that album. I've been listening to that a little bit. Justin Bieber dropped a new album, but I wasn't really a fan. Mary loves it, though. There's a guy named Shabuzi. I've been listening to him. He's like a hip-hop country artist.
All right.
Yeah, I've been listening to a little bit of everything. So,
Yeah.
Morgan dropped an album a couple months ago. I've still been listening to that.
Who did?
Morgan Wallen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I'm not big. I don't keep up on the country stuff.
I listen to everything. I do. My playlist will go from, like, Billy Strings and fucking Tyler Childers to, like, Three Doors Down to, like, Lil Wayne.
Yeah, Lil Wayne I think he just released the Carter 500 or something like that.
I listen to, like, the first 5 songs. If I listen to Lil Wayne, it's like the Carter 5 and before, usually, to be honest with you.
What number Carter is he actually on? It's like, God, I
I
don't
think
even know.
6, 7. I think.
Is it? All right. Well, yeah, because he doesn't name every album to Carter, I guess. So yeah,
6. Yeah.
yeah, man. Well, I
He
appreciate.
walked out with Dustin Poirier last night.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, they're both Louisiana boys. That's why.
Yeah, in Louisiana.
Yeah, I know. That was crazy. Well, listen, I'm going to finish up this segment, and I will try to give you a call back. I've got some errands to run to, but I'll get back in touch with you.
Yes, sir. Peace out, Vertigo.
All right. Thanks for calling. Hey, real quick, before you go, I want to plug the podcast before the podcast. I think that's a brilliant idea. So Sean and Andy are doing a podcast called The Elbow Room, which is specifically discussing MMA, UFC, to be specific. So if you do want to grab UFC news, The Elbow Room on Spotify is definitely a place. Andy and Sean do such a great job breaking down the fights. And I'm telling you, as somebody who is an MMA fan and who has been following the UFC since its infancy, these two gentlemen definitely have knowledge, and I would put them up there with the Good Guy, Bad Guy, like any of those shows, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
For real, you guys do a phenomenal show. You're extremely knowledgeable. You've got the stats, you've got all that, but they're a local, homegrown show, so get out there and support that. But real quick, I'm going to give you the opportunity to plug your podcast before the podcast. So ready, take it away.
Yeah, so pretty much Andy and I record The Elbow Room once a week, but we that's pretty much also our time to hang out because we both have families and kids. So before we record, we go down there and we talk for 30, 40 minutes, an hour maybe. We always talk before we record, just catch up on what's going on with each other and shoot the shit, really. And then all of a sudden, we'll press record and jump into the MMA shit. Well, one day we were sitting there and we were doing this, and I'm like, what if we just recorded this? We're sitting down here for an hour. What if we just recorded it and we posted it on another podcast? And for those of the people out there that really enjoy listening to Andy and I, but maybe they're not MMA fans, that's something they can listen to. And we're talking anyway. So we decided to come up with, we call it right now the podcast before the podcast, or sometimes we call it P2.
I was going to say P squared, from what I understand from your last episode.
Yeah, and pretty much it's going to get posted on the Elbow Room page, and it's just going to be us shooting the shit before we record. It's just like us talking before we start the podcast, and that'll just be our little segment we do. That's non-MMA based, pretty much.
Which is great. And I'm excited.
So much.
I think it's going to be great.
There is one we just recorded this week. We don't know if we're going to drop it this week or next week or the week after, when we're ever going to drop the first one. But I nerded out quite a bit because I've been listening to a ton of podcasts about anthropology with ancient civilizations, and I've just been digging deep into it. So I nerded out a little bit on the first piece.
That stuff's so fascinating. So hey, wait, and I gotta ask you, actually, I've got to go back and kind of talk. Have you heard anything about this new promotion for freestyle wrestling called Real American Freestyle?
Yeah, I know Bo Nickel's going over there.
Yeah, now I've heard that they're trying to sell tickets for an event that's coming up in August. I heard that the ticket sales are fledgling. They're not really doing so hot. But Kurt Angle just got involved. But the reason I was bringing it up was because Ben Askren was supposed to be involved and actually was scheduled to be to have a match on that card, but obviously just had a double lung implant.
Yeah, dude, that whole thing is crazy. I don't know if you've seen like the videos of him since. Like the first one he posted, it didn't even look like him, dude.
No.
It's crazy how life, dude. And I think that it reminded me, like, this guy, he's got a lot of money. He's very like successful when it comes to his athletics. Like one of the greatest wrestlers. Obviously, he didn't go to the Olympics or anything like that. But
I think he did. I thought he was an Olympic wrestler.
Was he? I don't think he might have, but he definitely never won.
Okay, so he might have been on the Olympic team then, maybe. But anyway, before I digress,
yeah, and just one day, I think they're assuming it started from a staph infection. He just didn't really feel well, went to the hospital, and was in a coma for like a couple weeks, had a double lung transplant. And, dude, it reminded me, like, life can change in the blink of an eye, man. So appreciate what you got. Even though I'm fucking stressed out some days and I'm irritated or I feel like the world is on my shoulders, tomorrow anything can happen.
Yeah.
Dude, and it's crazy to see him, like, when he was talking, like, he can't stop coughing, his, like, whole body's shivering. It's like, dude, this dude was somebody who fought an amazing fight against Robbie Lawler. Didn't really, he won, but kind of a bullshit win. But still, like, this guy was beating one of the greatest MMA fighters ever, and then fucking all of a sudden he can barely talk or breathe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just reading it. Pneumonia, they're saying, was the cause. But just, here's somebody who is like, in my opinion, I don't care what sport it is, as far, and you'll understand in a minute. I don't care if you are a fighter, just that class of athlete, whether it's wrestling, whether it's MMA, whether it's K1 kickbox, you know what I mean, or karate. Like, if you're a professional fighter or a professional combatant for combat sports, you are probably the most, I don't know what the word is. Those guys are elite. They're athletes. Like, they're better than they're better shape than a basketball player, better shape than a football player. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm trying? Because they have to be agile and strong. Like,
they have to cut weight, so they have to watch their diet.
Yep. And so for this dude to be, probably one of the best physical specimens that could be, being a combat sport athlete, and gets taken out by pneumonia and has a double lung implant. It's just crazy.
I did hear that Dana White and Jake Paul helped pay for it.
And that's the thing. I think Dana White definitely has his public persona, and I know not a lot of people are fans of that public persona, but my understanding is behind the scenes he does give a lot of money, and he is very charitable.
So much people were talking shit about him. They're like, Dana White's never even talked about this topic. Like, how is he just going to ignore Ben Askren? And then, he was doing it out of respectfulness, not to talk about it, not to he's not going to be like, hey guys, I gave Ben Askren $100,000 for his lung transplant. No, you know what I mean?
Right.
They finally asked, and he was like, they finally asked about Ben Askren, and if he was going to pay, he's like, I forget exactly what he said, but he kind of said nonchalant, yeah, I helped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, man. It's crazy to think that that's happening right now, dude. There's medical treatments where people are getting their lungs taken out of their body and new lungs put into their body and living, bro. That's fucking weird.
I know it. It is bizarre when you think about that. And that's got to come with so many levels too. I can't imagine. I wonder. I would love to be able to ask Ben questions. What is that like? Because one, I think your mind has got to go in some pretty incredible places. One, I would think that there's some joy that you get a second shot at life. But then, how weird is it to think I've got somebody else's lungs in my body too? That's got to be that's got to be a head trip in and of itself, kind of too. Even though you're glad to be alive, obviously, but you've also got somebody else's parts in you, and that's got to be kind of weird, right?
It's also got to be a little I don't know, I guess the word to use, but it's not like a kidney where somebody gave up one of their kidneys for you. In order to get the double lung transplant, somebody had to have died for you to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that too. It's just
that means in order for him to survive and in order for him to live, somebody else would have had to die. I'm sure that. Okay, baby. I'm sure that is a little tough on your mental. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would think so too. It's crazy, just crazy. Well, anyway.
Well, the child says she needs a Band-Aid.
Yes. Well, take care of Miss Parker. Thank you for allowing me to put you on the spot and just go live on the air. But also, I've missed you, and I hope that I can get you here across the table because we've got conversations to have, right?
Okay. If you want to see Little Sean on the podcast, you guys better comment down below it.
That's
Tell
right.
me you want. I need some motivation or something. I don't know.
All right. So you heard it here, folks. If you want Sean to join me on the podcast, throw in some love, throw in some comments. Let's get him back on here. And, hey, buddy, thank you for calling. And I will give you a call later on today when I'm not in Vertigo persona.
All right.
All right. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. Always a pleasure. Here I was talking about, not having a guest, and look what happens. The universe supplies, right? So thank you, Sean, for calling in and again being put on the spot. Always love when I can get him, Zach, Maddox, on the show. Seth has talked about wanting to come on. Seth lives down near Corning, New York, so it's a little more difficult to get him up here because it's a good couple hours hike for him. But getting him, we will get him on the show as well, so y'all can hear from the mind of Seth as well. But anyway, to kind of wrap up, I'm not going to get too much further into this, but yeah, my whole kind of point today was just to talk about like just the madness that seems to be going on in the world, and just, I think I've talked with a lot of people who also see it, so I know that it's not, it's prevalent, but I also know that there are people who see it and call it out too. So it's not like, I guess I just want people to kind of hit the brakes before we go off. And, we've got artificial intelligence now. Like, I actually had a conversation with somebody who was telling me that they converse with AI. They converse with ChatGPT. Like, actually converse. Like, they ask it, questions and favors, like, as if they were consulting a friend. And I worry about that. And I'm going to talk more about that. That's going to be a topic for a future episode, because I've got some points I want to make about that. But I guess that's kind of where I was heading before the phone call and before being joined by Sean. And it was just like how I think that it wasn't COVID is where I was going with that. I wonder if it was festering underneath, and Sean kind of brought that out in his thing. And I think a lot of it is social media. And I don't want to bash social media, because social media is what gets Vertigo listeners. Social media is what helps us connect with those folks that we haven't seen in forever, whether it's family, whether it's a friend from high school that we haven't seen since high school, because they moved, we lost touch and they moved across the states, or maybe even across, to another country. So there's a lot of good that happens, but I also think that we have relied so much on social media that we have also lost the ability to connect with people across from us. Like if they're not on the other side of the computer or a phone, we don't know really how to connect. And I think that that's one of the worries that I have. And I see it now with artificial intelligence. Like I said, like people have told me with no shame, and I'm not shaming them, actually. I want to be careful, because I'm not shaming them for doing it either, but it's like, wow, like we trust so much in AI, for example. Now, I'm a kid from the 80s, so I grew up watching Terminator. So for me, I don't trust AI. Like, I'm like, no, that motherfucker's going to turn into the Terminator, and then they're going to be hunting your ass. So, but I think realistically, though, like people are very trusting in a sense. And that kind of goes with the pilot going down in India, too. Like, we are very trusting, but we are trusting in a naive sense, almost childlike. It's like, okay, we can have trust, and that's a good thing. We do need to have some blind faith and some blind trust. We absolutely need to, but at the same time, we also need to have a little discernment here, and we also need to kind of think about these things. And I don't know, for me, ChatGPT certainly can help. I use it at work, for example, when I'm troubleshooting. But you got to be careful, because it's also wrong, and it's probably wrong. It's equally wrong as much as it's right. It's a 50-50 shot with it. And like I said, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole right now. I'm going to save it as a topic for a whole episode. But I think what I'm trying to express to everybody is, let's not lose our humanity. Let's not lose our connections to one another. Let's not lose that part of it. So check in on your friends. Check in on, family members. Check in. Make sure people are doing all right. I had a conversation yesterday, and I'm not going to name names because I didn't ask for permission, and we got on the topic of talking about self-harm and suicide. And it started out as a kind of, you got to understand my humor. I have a little bit of a dark humor to me. So anybody who knows me, I definitely have that dark humor, which I've talked about on Vertigo before, so that shouldn't come as a surprise. But we were talking about suicide attempts gone wrong. And then it led to a very serious conversation that 9 times out of 10, suicide attempts, if they do go wrong, it's because there was some second guessing that was going on. And also 9 times out of 10, men are more successful at suicide than women. And that's a really, that's something to really think about. We are in an age, I think, where people's mental health is hanging by a string. And I think we just need to remember to reach out and connect with people, right? So something is, there's nothing funny about suicide, so I'm not trying to make light of it, but check in with people, right? Check in with people. Make sure people are doing all right. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm going to end it right there. Don't lose that connection. I know that Facebook is easy, and I say this all the time. I don't want Facebook relationships. I want real relationships, right? I want to be able to have real check-in relationships, like my son calling me on the phone, even though it's in the middle of doing an episode. Like, it's never not important not to take it, And yeah, that's it, I guess. All right, Vertigo Nation, thank you for so much for hanging on. I hope this episode, fed your head. Maybe we'll go from making your head speed to, wait, hold on. Rewind. Maybe we'll take the tagline away, make your head spin, and say, let's feed your head, right? Vertigo is the place to feed your head. But then it wouldn't make sense because Vertigo is about spinning. So, Vertigo Nation, thank you for tuning in, listening, putting up with the mad ramblings of myself. But remember, just check in on one another, and I hope this episode made your head spin. Thank you.